our dear viewers, welcome to yet another edition of The Verdict. Your host, I'm Patrick Soko, and on the program today, we'll be discussing key issues ahead of the polls. And my guest on the program is coming from the Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, and is the president there, Mr. NTEWEWE. And he's also the spokesperson for Democracy and Mother and Defenders Coalition, DMDC. Mr. NTEWEWE, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very grateful to be here. It's always a pleasure.
Well, our dear viewers, you also be able to participate on this very program by calling or dialing the numbers on your screens as we discuss pertinent issues surrounding the electoral process. Now, Mr. NTEWEWE, before we get into the details of our program, kindly avail us with the roles that you take in as far as hosting this year's election is concerned. We know that you belong from the Democracy and Mother and Defenders Coalition. We are also aware that you are the president for the Young African Leaders Initiative. And time and again, you've been participating in elections. What will be your role this year?
So the Young African Leaders Initiative has been participating in elections, as you rightly indicate, from 2011. From our formation in 2011, we have participated in elections. We participated in 2015. We also participated in the 2016 elections. We have also participated in a number of by-elections that we've had as a country along the way. In terms of the 2021 engagement, we are part and parcel of the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition. And so the coalition, together with YALI, will participate effectively. As you may be aware, we have been having our engagement with the media. We have also been having our engagement in terms of mobilizing and selecting those citizens who are our members, who are going to be part and parcel of this electoral process as monitors. So we have been doing training of monitors. We have done training of trainers at provincial levels. And we are now going into the actual mobilization and ensuring that the citizens that we have trained are available for accreditation with the Electoral Commission of Zambia. So we will participate, we will play our watchdog role, we will play our civil society role, but most importantly, as citizens of the Republic of Zambia, we will participate as monitors, and also will have the privilege to observe, but we will monitor the elections.
But what criteria have you been using to come up with the list of participants in your activities? So,
first of all, the Young African Leaders Initiative has a strong membership of about 14,000 young people plus. The various members of the coalition have their own membership. And so what we have done is to bring the synergies together in terms of bringing various expertise on the table. Others are more concerned with the students. We have the students movement, we have Mzasu, we also have Kobusu, we also have Zanasu, Zambia National Students Union. They bring the component of the students. We have youth organizations such as the Young African Leaders Initiative. We have ZIGLAP, which is an advocacy institute think tank. We also have the Advocacy for Development and Democracy, ANDD. We have a number of other organizations. So this consortium is what is going to be able to provide the monitors. Altogether, we are targeting to send on the 12th of August, on the actual poll day, 22,000 monitors across the country.
So, in other words, you'll be participating in what is called a parallel voter tabulation.
So, we are monitoring the elections. As you may be aware, one of the key things you must be able to understand is that our electoral system and our Electoral Process Act demands that at every polling station, there should be poll agents. They also are supposed to be, those are political party agents, as well as civil society monitors and observers. The requirement of the Electoral Process Act is that the counting is done at the polling station. And once the polling station has done the counting, the results per polling station must be stuck on the polling station, at the polling station for a minimum of 14 days. So from that background, it's very easy for any organization, even international observers, to be able to carry out a per voter tabulation in terms of capturing information per polling station as it comes out. Though I must hasten to indicate that the responsibility to publish election results lies with the body that is mandated to publish election results. And the reason for that is very simple, is that much as you want to promote transparency as well as accountability, it's very important that our roles, as you ask at the very beginning, all of us play our roles effectively. So our role is to monitor, to observe, to be able to see to it that the poll is actually happening in a correct manner. Our role is not to usurp the responsibility of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The role to announce the election results is primarily for the Electoral Commission of Zambia. So,
based on that point, Mr. Tewe, before you proceed further, I wanted to find out what about that component where at what level your monitors are there and other political party monitors are at the station, and the returning officer announces the result to say, in this stream, the winner is the political party B, the second is political party A. So at that point, isn't it possible for organizations like yours or the media to even update on their platforms? So
our understanding is that this election will be slightly different from the other elections. We have had a situation where within one polling station you have a number of poll streams. Our understanding from what we are gathering from the Electoral Commission of Zambia is that there will be only one polling station. Now, that's very advantageous in the sense that it's very easy when you get information at the polling station and you stick it out there and you can share it because ECZ has already announced it. But remember, what you're talking about is at the returning officer level. Where do you have the returning officer? You don't find the returning officer at the polling station. Is at the totaling center for the constituency. And that is where the overall total is going to be given. So for instance, if you are giving people results per polling station, it might be misleading because probably in this constituency there will be about 20 or so polling stations. So you're only giving results from one polling station. Then there's 19 more polling stations to come. So it might be misleading to the public out there. That's why we are of the view that we must allow the Electoral Commission of Zambia to be able to publish that information. Of course, when the returning officer is giving out that information, it's given out to the media, it's given out to all stakeholders, and that way it becomes easy for each and every one of us to be able to effectively participate.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, we get into one of the interesting subjects that has been that has emerged this week, Mr. NTEWEWE. The Electoral Commission of Zambia guiding on in terms of campaigning amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The big news was that political parties were being discouraged, rather not to hold public rallies. What is your assessment of that statement and just your analysis?
So, first of all, one must be able to be very quick to understand that the elections this year will be very different. They'll be different in the sense that we are in the midst of COVID-19. And I think that it's very important that even as we do elections, we must be able to understand that life is more important than elections.
Exactly.
It's a difficult one. Life is more important than elections. Yeah. So it's very, very critical and cardinal that even as we are doing our elections, the COVID-19 rules and guidelines must be followed. So it will be our expectation that even at the polling station, you're going to be able to see social distancing. The way we are seated here. You are also going to be able to see that people are masked up and so forth and so on. The issue of COVID is a very serious problem. Countries such as the United States, countries in Europe, have really been negatively affected by COVID-19. We have examples. We can learn from other African countries that have had elections during COVID-19. Some of the examples are Ghana, Tanzania, and Uganda. One of the key things that comes out of those countries is that there was so much emphasis on social distancing. There was so much emphasis on following the guidelines. There was so much emphasis on discouraging political parties from having rallies. Our view as early as March 2021 was that the Electoral Commission of Zambia should have engaged Foreign Affairs to also limit the number of international observers that are coming from ravaged, COVID-19 ravaged countries. And our rationale and reasoning is very simple. Is that, look, the US today is grappling. Today, India is on complete lockdown. These countries have got very far advanced Medicare systems. You can imagine if our systems became overwhelmed, what would happen? Even the issue of elections would be thrown out of the window. So it's very important that even as we go into this election, COVID-19 rules must take precedence. It's very important that the Electoral Commission of Zambia and other stakeholders managing this election must ensure that we all abide by the rules. I note that there was one media house which had stated that ECZ had stopped political rallies. It must be noted that ECZ did not stop political rallies, but ECZ has discouraged. And that's very important for our citizens out there to understand. That citizens even themselves must be able to know that you go into a public rally at your own peril. You put your own life at risk. So even as we are going in this campaign period, let us bear in mind that COVID-19 is real, that COVID-19 has claimed a lot of lives, that COVID-19 kills, and therefore it is important that even as we are campaigning, we must be able to campaign responsibly.
In case you're just joining us, we are discussing key issues in the electoral process. My guest on the program is coming from the Young African Leaders Initiative. He is the president there, Mr. Andrew NTEWEWE. Now, Mr. NTEWEWE, there's been another argument that has been advanced to say, even before before we get into the campaign mood, we've seen political parties disregarding COVID-19 rules. Now, how sincere are the politicians going to be in terms, or take serious the cause by ECZ and other stakeholders to ensure that they uphold the COVID-19 guidelines?
The politician must be responsible enough. As I have indicated, if for instance you have a situation, we're going into the cold season, and probably, God forbid, if we act irresponsibly, you might discover that all of a sudden COVID-19 becomes uncontrollable. How are we going to do the election on the 12th of August? It's possible that we might even postpone an election if, for instance, COVID-19 is uncontrollable. So it is for the good of the politician to act responsibly. I know this is not a good message. Politicians want to use this opportunity to be able to engage as many people as possible. But at the same time, as I have indicated, elections are important. But here we're talking about a matter of life and death. And as I've indicated, COVID-19 kills. Those of us who have had come face to face, seen how people have died of this disease, been on oxygen before, we really understand this whole matter. So it's very important that citizens out there must take this seriously. It's not a joking matter. You can joke about so many other things, but COVID-19 is not a matter for jokes.
Getting into another key issue this week as well that has been with us, you and us do the same work, almost the same work. We follow the news. You also follow the updates on the part of ECZ. Another interesting subject coming from the political camps is the adoption process. Now, the adoption process, you have been advocating for youth participation. We'll start with the aspect of youths. We've seen political parties have done, others have done 100%, others have done 90% in terms of releasing the list of adopted candidates. How would you assess their performance, especially on the part of two major political parties?
We are critically analyzing in terms of segregating this data to look at the number of women that have been adopted, the number of youth that have been adopted. I must indicate that even though we have not yet come up with the preliminary report, we are disappointed that there is few young people that are being adopted. We are disappointed that there's few women that are still being disappointed, being adopted. You must be able to understand that according to SADC protocol, it is now gone up to 50%. The demand that women must get 50% and as well as men 50%. So it must be 50-50. There is also a call for young people to effectively participate. In a country such as ours, with over 70% of the population being below 35 years, it only becomes mandatory and obligatory that young people must participate effectively in the governance of the country. It's also very important, if you look at our data, our demographics, we have over 1.7 million disabled citizens. They must be able to participate as well in the governance of this country. So, this is a matter that we are passionate about. And this is a matter that was one of the reasons why the Young African Leaders Initiative was formed. And I want to tell you that we are one of those organizations that we are very disappointed with the failure of Bill number 10. Because we believed, and up to now we still believe, that Bill number 10 was a gateway to ensuring that women are able to participate effectively, to ensuring that women are able to participate as well as persons with disabilities. Now, you're aware about how the debate was so politicized and polarized to the extent that some of us were being called names. The reality is the desire for young people to participate remains the same, even to date. Our desire to see women participating in the governance of this country is as strong as it was then. And so we look back at people who fought against Bill number 10 and ask the question, why did you fight Bill number 10? Because ultimately it was meant to achieve effective participation of marginalized groups. It makes us laugh at the Young African Leaders Initiative when we look at the NGOCC playing to the political gallery and complaining that women are not being adopted. And we say to them, where were you when we were fighting for Bill number 10? Where were you? They were busy flip-flopping. They came with us to the NDF. We agreed, let's put this clause and let's fight for it. When we left NDF, they changed their mind. Today you have political parties. I have no kind words for UPND because they are an enemy of youth participation. They are an enemy of women's participation. And people have called us all sorts of names, Patrick. But we understand that we are in a very politically emotive environment. But even as it is politically emotive, we want to be very clear that UPND acted irresponsibly, UPND acted in an egoistic manner, to the extent that they are an enemy of progress. And I don't expect young people out there, I don't expect the women out there to even give UPND any ounce of credibility. Because we are where we are today, talking about youth participation, talking about women's participation because of UPND. If, for instance, Bill number 10 had passed, the debate would have been completely different. Probably would have had 30 seats, safe seats, given to women, given to the youth, and given to persons with disabilities. But all because of retrogressive type of politics, we are where we are today, where our women are not going to be effectively represented, where our youth are not going to be represented, where persons with disabilities are not going to be represented. The reason for all this is UPND, and they must be held accountable during this election.
But others had argued to say, much as those clauses were progressive, there are some clauses they think were not also good. Others advanced the issue of deputy ministers. So, and such progressive clauses, the others may deem them, have been ended up suffering.
Patrick, we participated in that process, and the process was very transparent. We went to the NDF at Mulungushi International Conference Center. We came up with a zero draft. That zero draft was panel beaten at Parliamentary Select Committee, where those clauses that you're talking about, almost all of them were gunned down. the bill that would go to second reading would go with those amendments. What actually happened at second reading is that Minister of Justice then, Honorable Given Luinda, even re-gazetted the bill with amendments. The biggest reason why those who fought against Bill number 10 fought against it, they were telling us that Bill number 10 was going to give President Edgar Lungu another term of office. If you remember, that's what they were talking about. They were saying, no, without Bill number 10, President Lungu cannot contest the 2021 elections. We told the Zambian people that this is a blatant lie. We told the Zambian people that UPND is lying to you because the eligibility of the president has got nothing to do with Bill number 10. They lied that Bill number 10 was about increasing the presidential term from 5 years to 7 years. They lied that Bill number 10 was about removing from the presidential race anyone who has contested for more than 5 times. They lied. All those were blatant lies. And today, look at it this way. They were telling Zambians that Bill number 10 was what was going to allow President Edgar Lungu to be on the ballot paper. Isn't President Edgar Lungu going to be on the ballot paper? Did Bill number 10 pass?
No.
Blatant lie. So, unfortunately, UPND, I speak passionately against them. Why? Because they have denied young people representation. They've denied women representation. They've denied persons with disability representation. In 2016, Patrick, we had been fighting for enhanced Bill of Rights. UPND fought against the Bill of Rights, which was going to give citizens more rights in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of access to water and sanitation, in terms of living in human dignity. In 2016, they lied to the Zambian people that if you vote for the enhanced Bill of Rights, it means you're voting for President Edgar Lungu. That Bill of Rights did not succeed. But still more, President Edgar Lungu became president. They were lying. They were lying to Zambians. In 2020, they lied to Zambians that Bill number 10 was the one that was going to allow President Lungu to be on the ballot paper. Bill number 10 has not succeeded. President Lungu will still be on the ballot paper. They're liars. They're traitors for Mother Zambia, and the Zambian people must treat them as such.
Well, in case you are joining us, we are discussing key issues in the electoral process ahead of the elections. And my guest on the program is coming from the Young African Leaders Initiative. He is the president, Mr. Andrew NTEWEWE. Well, our dear viewers, you can also participate on the program by dialing the numbers scrolling on your screens so that you can also be part of the discussion. Mr. NTEWEWE, still on the issue of adoptions, there's another interesting component we have seen where when other candidates have been selected, others are crying foul to say why others have overstayed, others, why don't you give a chance to others? And most of these issues have ended up in the media. Do you think these political parties have strong dispute resolution mechanisms at a political party level?
There is a lot of work that has to be done. One of the biggest things that we have cried about as a Young African Leaders Initiative is that in the absence of the Political Parties Act, it becomes very difficult to hold political parties accountable in terms of their democratic processes. First of all, in terms of how they hold their general assemblies or how they hold their general conferences and so forth and so on. We have seen a lot of movement in 2021, which is progressive, but there is still more that can be done. In terms of the election and adopting of candidates, this is a process that is maturing within our political parties. The other key element, I think, which is very important, is that we must be able to begin to demand for maturity from our politicians. We are seeing a trend where an individual today is denied adoption.
Just hold on to your thought, Mr. NTEWEWE. Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? Okay, we've lost that one. Well, you can still participate by calling the numbers on your screens. We are discussing key issues ahead of the polls. Now, Mr. NTEWEWE, you were on the floor before that interruption.
Exactly. I was saying that we must begin to demand more maturity from our politicians. I think that it is irresponsible that today you want to contest on this political party ticket. And if you are not adopted, the next day you want to jump and go to the other political party. What has made you move? What principles have motivated you? Are you telling us that the ideologies of these political parties are the same? They're not. Are you telling us the policies are the same? They are not. Are you telling us the manifestos are the same? They are not. They're different. So it's very important that we must begin to demand maturity from our politicians. And from where we stand as a Young African Leaders Initiative, we see the 2021 elections.
We have a caller, just a moment. I know you are through to Camden TV. May we have your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, I'm Machike Munguna.
Okay.
I'm calling you in particular.
Okay. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I want to agree with Mr. NTEWEWE. Yeah, because they asked me for the weekend, it doesn't seem clearly how are the women going to be included, or the young women, or the youth. Yeah, because even in PF, their adoption, if you take clear, there are very few women, there are very few young people, there's not even a person living with disability in adoption. But now, what can they show the example that what they are trying to say in Houston could do, they can make it in their adoption. Number two, President Lugo has got 10 people, to nominate 10 people in Parliament. Out of the 10 people, how many were disability nominated in Parliament? So that was the intent, that was just a scheme. It's not even, they don't even state exactly. And let me check the Constitution, where it gives a clear right that each political party to participate in an election, it should have a certain number of, or a percentage, to show that maybe for this political party to qualify, you have to put about the elected 20 youth, maybe 50 women, just like that. Just like that. That's my contribution.
Well, thank you for your contribution, Mr. NTEWEWE. I know the issue of butane is now trying to,
yes,
is trying to argue that.
And I hear what he's saying.
Yes.
What he's saying is that he's giving us an example of PF.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you follow my deliberation, I was very clear that we are doing our preliminary study in terms of looking at how political parties are fared. But I was also very quick to point out that across the political divide, we are disappointed that all political parties have not adopted enough young women, enough young people, enough women, enough persons with disabilities. That's a point. What Mr. Mumbuna is talking about is exactly what we wanted to fight against. We wanted to fight a system which is first past the post. Because the first past the post system is so draconian and does not take into account marginalized groups. So what he is talking about in terms of he wanted specifics, the specifics were going to come in subsidiary legislation. What the Constitution had stipulated in Article 47(2) amendment was that we are going to leave the first past the post system to the mixed member proportional representation system, which would be prescribed in an act of parliament. So just removing the first past the post in the 2016 constitution would have been enough to guarantee the participation of women, would have been enough to guarantee the participation of youth, would have been enough to guarantee the participation of persons with disabilities. The other point he raises, he says, and these were the flimsy arguments that they were giving, that no, why are you talking about this? The president has got 10 nominated members of parliament. 10 in a parliament of 156. Even if you said all the 10 are given to the youth, will that be representative? Even if you said all the 10 are given to the women, would that be representative? Even if you said all the 10 are given to persons with disabilities. Now, remember, the 10 is given to the president for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is tribal balancing. You discover that some provinces, like Southern Province, may not give the president any single member of parliament. If the cabinet does not have any minister from Southern Province, what are people going to say? That is the rationale of the 10 nominated members of parliament. But my point is, 10 is too insignificant a number, Mr. Mumbuna, for you to even be talking about it. What we wanted was a clear electoral system that would have guaranteed the participation of marginalized groups.
But could it be that one of the reasons that maybe most of the women are not capable of filling the void, and the young people themselves, or maybe they are not interested? Because
I don't know what capability is.
How do we assess that as a country? Because you made
first and foremost, you are seated here, and I'm seated here because of a woman out there. That in itself.
But are they willing? Is the political environment favoring them?
They are very, very willing. The political environment is not favoring them, but they are willing to participate in the governance of the country and improve this country to the other level. We had also a case, Mr. NTEWEWE, on a PF
adopted someone to appear to be as a council chairperson.
Yes.
And the people rejected him because of being a person with a disability. But do you think society has accepted?
And that's a reason why. That is the reason why you cannot allow, you cannot just leave it to chance, like what Mr. Mumbuna is saying. You cannot leave it to discretion. It must be legislated. As I have indicated to you, there are 1.7 million citizens who are living with disabilities in this country. If you look at the data we have in terms of the number of voters in this country, 53% of those voters are going to be women. 53% of the voters on this new register are women. So what are we talking about in terms of their inability? If you go to the village, who takes care of the children? Even in towns, in urban areas. Who ensures that the children are able to go to school? Who suffers because of the challenges of lack of water and sanitation? It's a women. If you're able to get a woman into leadership, they'll be able to understand better. They may not have the capabilities like that of men, but they are very, very effectively capable in terms of leadership. And it has been proven world over that the more you include women in the governance of the country, you're able to move to the other level. Scandinavian countries are a very good example, where their GDP is the living conditions of the people in Scandinavian countries are almost at the very highest. And what is the reason? The reason is that they have allowed as many women as possible to be able to participate in the governance of the country. What is wrong with us? Why can't we be able to allow women to participate in the governance of our country? Why can't we allow the young people? The young people is my constituency, Patrick. These young people have so much energy. These young people have new skill set. These young people have so much vigor. The young people of today are more educated than the older generation. They know better. They understand the challenges that we face today much, much better than the older generation. So why is it that we don't want to give opportunities to these young people and women? So it's only important that political parties begin to understand that it's critical that our women as well as young people must participate effectively in the governance of the country.
Well, our dear viewers, you are watching The Verdict, but just now we'll take a short break. We'll be back shortly with this topic of this discussion, which is interesting, with Mr. NTEWEWE, who is the president for the Young African Leaders Initiative. Stay tuned.
Flora Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We celebrate for all you've done. Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Lord, we give you all the praise.
Welcome back. Thank you for watching. We are discussing key issues ahead of the pause. My guest on the program is coming from the Young African Leaders Initiative. He is the president, Mr. Andrew NTEWEWE. He is also the spokesperson for the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition, a consortium of civil society organizations that deals on governance issues. Now, Mr. NTEWEWE, getting deep into our conversation, there is another subject that has emerged. We have 18 presidential candidates now that have so far been confirmed by the ECZ, those that have paid, though we are aware that the presentation of supporters is ongoing for the nominations now. But now we are assured that there are 18 presidential candidates. What is your comment regarding the aspect of fragmentation?
So first of all, I think having 18 candidates is a demonstration that our political space is open, that each and every citizen can aspire to any office of the land, that if you want to be a councillor, you can become a councillor, that if you want to be a member of parliament, you can become a member of parliament. If you want to become a mayor, if you want to become president, you can become a president. To us, that is very encouraging, that we have an open political space. That's what democracy entails. Going a little bit further, when you're discussing the issue of fragmentation, I don't know which vote is fragmented, whether it's the governing party's vote or it's the opposition vote. One of the key things you can...
Just hold on to your thought, Mr. NTEWEWE. I know you are through to Camnet TV. May we have your name and where you are calling us from?
Yes, I'm calling from Lusaka West, and this is Ephraim.
Mr. Ephraim, you can go ahead and with your contribution.
Not a contribution, actually. I just want to find out. There's a certain question I want to ask the same president.
You can proceed, sir.
I've got the question. I've followed what he has been saying, and now my question is that since that the same built-in flop, what would be the way forward in order for the young children and the women to participate?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. NTEWEWE, that question is coming to you. I don't know if we have to exhaust our area question or you will take up this one.
I think that we can keep it. And
yes,
then first of all,
we'll respond to that.
I am
so you can
definitely
proceed.
going to respond to Ephraim.
All right.
What I was saying is that I don't know which vote is disintegrated, where there is fragmentation, whether it's the governing party vote or the opposition vote. One gets a feeling that it's the opposition vote because all the 17 candidates are opposition candidates, meaning that none of them trust any one of them. It's everyone for himself and God for us all. So it's a big disadvantage for the opposition going into this election. Big disadvantage that already the votes have been fragmented. Already what is going to happen is that you don't mind about the percentage which the other candidates are going to get. But the reality is that that is fragmentation. In a 50% plus one electoral system, it is very important that each and every vote counts. Because only one single vote can make you win an election. And only one single vote can make you lose an election. So to have 18 candidates, it's a big disadvantage for the opposition. In terms of the ruling party or governing party, to point out correctly, they are smiling. They should be happy to see as many opposition political party leaders come forward, because what it demonstrates is that there is no unity or purpose, that they have one confidence in one candidate. They don't have confidence in one candidate. So the governing party should be smiling all the way to the bank. That's the way we see it. If I may respond to Ephraim.
Before you respond to Ephraim, I would like you to tackle another similar incident.
Yes.
We have political alliances that have emerged. Now we're also addressing the aspect of being fragmented. The others have made. Just your quick analysis on the analysis so far.
You see, the bigger problem, and understand this very well, is that in our Zambian electoral process, there's no room for coalitions. There's no room for alliances. In fact,
why do you say so?
They are not recognized by our constitution. It's a political party. So it's not like you're going to come together as a coalition. It's one candidate, one political party. So even if you come together, like the case has been, UPND comes together with Felix Mutati, MDC, and comes together with KBF this side, there's only one political party which will be on the ballot paper, and that's UPND. So it's not an alliance worth talking about. It doesn't even exist legally. Legally, what is known is only UPND. What is known is only MDC. I don't even know whether Kelvin Walefu even has a political party that is recognized legally. But now, because they are not recognized in the constitution, that's why every other attempt to come up with an alliance or a coalition has failed. It is not the first time that UPND is going in an alliance. Is it the first time? No. They started going into alliances as far back as 2006. We can refresh people's memories. In 2006, when Hakainde came on the scene, they went into an alliance which was called UDA, together with UNIP and FDD. What happened? UPND was number 2 in 2001. In 2006, after forming this bogus alliance, it came a distant 3. In 2011, you remember that there was a PF-UPND pact which had been formed. It was formed in 2010. In 2011, Hakainde had insisted that he wanted to be president ahead of Michael Sata. And that is how that alliance split. Prior to this so-called alliance which has just been formed now, there was an alliance which was formed, UPND and NDC. Where is it today? It's gone.
It's still intact.
What do you mean? What do you mean? It's gone.
But
it's gone.
President Akafumba is part of the alliance.
You know what? You can have 100 presidents, if you like, and call them whatever you want to call them. We know who has got political clout. Let's not cheat ourselves.
Who is that one?
I mean, the one who has had political clout is Chimba Kambwile. That's the truth of the matter. That is why UPND wanted to have him as their running mate. Why didn't they think of Akafumba as their running mate? Why isn't Akafumba being discussed today as their running mate? The one they wanted as a running mate is Chimba Kambwile. Now what has happened all of a sudden is that they are running for Felix Mutati. One wonders where Mutalo is. So these are political dynamics. But my point this evening is very simple. Alliances are not recognized legally in Zambia. And because they are not recognized legally in Zambia, it becomes very difficult to sustain them. Secondly, this political party that is forming alliances has formed so many marriages of inconvenience that have since failed lamentably. This is not the first one. We've talked about the coming together of political parties. How many times has UPND brought in individuals to become their vice president? How many vice presidents has Adaka Inde over the years? And you know, it's not me. These are facts out there. Mutalenda Lumango should be about number 10th, if not number 11th, vice president. All these left unceremoniously. It's more like you, Patrick, you're married today. After 1 year, you divorce. Married again. After the other year, you divorce. Married after 11 behind. And then you convince people and say, oh, these 11 are bad. Me, I'm the only one who's good. No, Bwana. It's you who's wrong. It's not the women.
Well, our dear viewers, you are watching The Verdict. We are discussing key issues ahead of the pause. My guest on the program is Mr. Andrew NTEWEWE, the president for the Young African Leaders Initiative. Now, Mr. NTEWEWE, I think you can now answer to what Ephraim
raised a very, very important point. I want to tell you, Ephraim, that if you believe in youth participation, if you believe in women's participation, if you believe in the participation of persons with disabilities, you cannot give your vote to UPND, because they are the ones who have stopped an opportunity for the young people to be able to be on the ballot paper this year. They are the ones who have stopped the women to be on the ballot paper. That is the way forward. Once we get a very good parliament, then we can begin the discussion in terms of increasing the number of women, in terms of increasing the number of the youth and persons with disabilities. But you don't want members of parliament who are going to be listening to an individual. You want members of parliament who will listen to the aspirations of the people of the Republic of Zambia. And I want to believe that what Ephraim is saying is that we need more women, we need more young people, and we need more persons with disabilities. We need a legal framework. It means we need members of parliament who can support that legislative agenda. UPND in its present state has demonstrated that it cannot support a progressive agenda in terms of including other marginalized citizens. I have indicated here, they gunned down the Bill of Rights. They gunned down Bill number 10. All of them were meant to achieve the participation of marginalized groups.
Well, for now, we can just take one more call, and that's if we want to contribute to the program due to time. But proceeding with our topic, Mr. NTEWEWE, another key issue is that of political party manifestos. This year's elections, should they be about fighting, name-calling, hate speech, or they should be about understanding the political party agendas and voting based on what they understand on these political party manifestos?
So first of all, I think you raise a very important point. We have to tell young people out there that uluwuli fiko. We have to tell young people out there that do not throw stones, do not fight. Say no to all forms of political violence. Yesterday, the President of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, made a very, very, very important statement in Kanyama. He said, you have never seen me and HH throw punches at each other. So why do you want to do it? So it is a call to young people out there that our elections must be as peaceful as possible. Now, in terms of making our elections peaceful, it's important that we base them on issues. What are the issues? The issues can be gotten from the manifestos. From the Young African Leaders Initiative point of view, we have studied the manifestos that have been given by political parties. We have studied the manifesto of UPND. We have studied the manifesto of the PF. Our conclusion is that UPND is complete capitalist. Their agenda is capitalism. Our full assessment is that the PF manifesto is more on the socialist agenda. It's people-centered.
And they all both following the capitalist kind of government?
No, not really. If you look at
because
the PF...
we see them lobbying for foreign direct investment. They don't focus on Zambians taking full responsibility in their affairs.
Now, the PF is more socialist. Yes, they are lobbying foreign direct investment. Yes, they are going to allow for the participation of foreigners in the economy. But if you look at the trajectory which they have taken, if you look at the theme of their manifesto, where they are putting the Zambian at the center of national development and productivity, it is more on the socialist agenda. If you look at the agenda that they have taken since coming into office in 2011, if you remember...
Okay, just hold on to your thought, Mr. NTEWEWE. We have our caller there. Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. May we have your name and where you're calling us from?
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Yes, I'm calling you.
Come again?
Yes, I'm saying I'm calling you.
From Kawe. You are Mr.
Mr. Kabwe.
Oh, Mr. Kabwe, okay. Mr. Kabwe, you can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, sir. Playing the program, but I think I'm not comfortable that there is coming up. By saying that you see a woman with what like campaign, our understanding NTEWEWE is a right for a civil system. It's not a political. We are aware that there has been by State House to campaign for them. But you should not forget that on the umbrella president. So let him not do it. On the other hand, we not know if government has misappropriated the country. And we cannot again another 5 years. So let me tell you, keep what we see. Well, what we men and women right. That the country that is not fair.
Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Kabwe. We have Mr. NTEWEWE. He says you are coming too harsh when it comes to the UPND, and he's suggesting that you are working for other people unknown. I don't know what is your response, and I want you to tie this response to your concluding remarks, because we have to be winding up.
Patrick, I think that I've been very clear on this program. I don't hide the fact that I would not want the Zambian people to vote for UPND. I don't know whether that is enough for Mr. Kabwe to understand. I am very clear that UPND have been enemies of progress. And the reason why I'm saying that UPND have been enemies of progress, I have been able to give reasons. We had the Bill of Rights, which Mr. Kabwe should be able to remember, that it was gunned down by UPND. Why was it gunned down? They lied to Zambians that voting for the enhanced Bill of Rights was voting for President Edgar Lungu. Yet, what actually happened is that the people of Zambia have lost out. They lied to Zambians that Bill number 10 was about President Edgar Lungu being on the ballot paper. I'm very clear. I come from a leadership institute. And what I have learned about leadership is that you must be honest, you must be truthful. The politics that UPND have exercised, have handled, has not been honest, have not been truthful. And I don't have any reason to apologize. That is a reality. He says to me that because I'm civil society, I'm supposed to be indifferent towards the affairs of my own country. No. The Young African Leaders Initiative is a corporate citizen in this country. And as a civil society organization, we take positions. And we have taken a position. We are telling Zambians to say, look, this political party has not wanted to allow young people to be on the ballot paper. Can you imagine that we formed YALI in 2011, Patrick, with a desire to have as many young people to participate in the governance of a country? And somebody comes and lies to people that, no, Bill number 10 is about President Edgar Lungu. And you want him to go scot-free without accountability? No. They will not go scot-free without accountability. They must be held accountable. And that is a role of us as civil society. We are not going to be like NGOCC, which is going to cry and say women are not represented and not do anything about it. We are saying you have denied an opportunity for young people to be represented. And for that, we are telling Zambians to say, this is not an outfit that you can trust. Because, unfortunately, they believe that they can lie for as long as it helps them to achieve state power. Now, how many more things are they going to lie about? How can you trust someone with state power, somebody who lies through their teeth every day? You don't want pathological liars in State House. And I'm very clear about that, and the Young African Leaders Initiative is very clear about that.
Interesting. Mr. NTEWEWE, we thank you for making time to be part of the program.
I am very grateful for having invited me to be here. I'll be available at any time to be able to explain how we are going to be monitoring these elections. We are definitely going to be monitoring. As I've indicated, we are deploying 22,000 monitors across the country to ensure that each and every polling station will have poll monitors. Once again, young people out there, ensure that you prevent COVID-19 by acting responsibly. But most importantly, say no to political violence.
Thank you. Well, our dear viewers, we have come to the end of the program. This has been Patrick Soko. Until next time, stay tuned to Kamne TV. The main news at 1930 is up next. Remember to keep it Kamne TV. Kamne TV is not just another channel.